fear of the retaliation and fear for their children's safety. This fear silences them. They suffer in silence, unable to seek help or confide in anyone. The criminal partner isolates them from friends and family. They become dependent on the very person who harms them. Isolation prevents them from seeking support or escape. They feel trapped and alone. Some women develop coping mechanisms to survive, and they dissociate from the pain in order to numb the emotions and endure. They may then rationalize the abuse, believing it is their fate or that they can change their partner. The constant threat of violence takes a toll on their mental health, as anxiety, depression, and PTSD are common among the women who find themselves in these types of situations. The ultimate betrayal is that the person they thought who would protect them becomes their tormentor. These women initially believed their criminal partners would provide safety and stability. Instead, they face danger and trauma. To address this, we must therefore focus on the economic empowerment and providing meaningful and gainful education, vocational training, and job opportunities. This is absolutely crucial if we are to break this cycle. Community programs that support young women and raise awareness about healthy relationships can also be useful tools in this endeavor. But as we discuss the impact of crime on women, we cannot ignore the plight of single mothers. These women find themselves alone, left to bear the burden of raising children in the aftermath of failed relationships with criminals. Single mothers often struggle financially as their criminal partners may have provided the sole source of income prior. But once the relationship ends, that support disappears. These single mothers then face the challenge of providing for their children without any financial assistance, and many of them work multiple jobs or live in poverty as a result of this. The emotional toll is immense, as these women experience grief, betrayal, and loneliness. They mourn the loss of their relationship, but also the loss of the family unit they had hoped for, and the dream of a stable family unit is shattered. Single mothers become the sole caregivers as they juggle work, household chores, and parenting responsibilities. The absence of a partner means they make all the decisions alone, from discipline to education, and this responsibility can often be too much to manage in this situation. These mothers often lack emotional and practical support, as their friends and family may have previously distanced themselves due to the criminal association. Support networks are crucial for mental well-being, but single mothers often feel isolated regardless due to the situation. Children raised by single mothers face challenges, and they miss out on having a father figure now that he is out of their lives. Witnessing their mothers' struggle and the aftermath of violence can therefore affect their emotional development in a negative way, as some children internalize the trauma and may later exhibit behavioral issues or turn to crime themselves. Children growing up in single-parent households or those who are exposed to criminality from a young age may also find themselves as witnesses to violence, drug abuse, and criminal activities from an early age. Their innocence is shattered, and they become desensitized to brutality and aggression. The absence of positive parental figures leaves a void, as these children lack healthy role models to guide them, and they may find themselves idealizing their criminal parents and perpetuating this cycle. Witnessing violence and instability causes deep emotional scars. Fear, anxiety, and trauma become their companions. Their emotional development then becomes stunted, affecting any meaningful relationships and their mental health. For these children, criminality becomes normalized. They see it as a way of life, and they may believe that violence and lawlessness are acceptable means to an end. The chaos at home often disrupts their education as they struggle academically, perpetuating the cycle of poverty. And it is this lack of education which limits their opportunities to escape the cycle of criminality and violence. Growing up in neighborhoods with high crime rates exposes them to peers involved in criminal activities, and it is often peer pressure from others in the communities that pushes them towards delinquency. Poverty and lack of resources drive some children to crime. They see it as a survival strategy, as the allure of quick money outweighs the risk, and they often feel like they either live or die by the sword. This is the reason that so many gangs are not only able to attract these youth to their cause, but in the face of so many of them either ending up in jail or dead due to their life of crime, these gangs are not only able to grow and thrive, but also splinter off and expand as a result of the perpetual source of delinquent minors willing to enter this life. So as I close this evening, we have delved into the heart-wrenching realities of crime in Trinidad and Tobago, specifically focusing on its impact on families, young women, and young girls. And as a criminologist, I have witnessed the intricate web of suffering that ensnares these vulnerable individuals. The economic desperation drives young women into relationships with criminals as they hope for stability, but find themselves trapped in toxic unions marked by coercion and fear. These women endure violence, both physical and emotional, from the very partners they thought would protect them. When these relationships crumble, single mothers are left to shoulder that weight alone. Financially strained and emotionally scarred, they navigate the challenges of parenting solo, and the absence of support networks compound their struggles, and their children often suffer the consequences. The most heartbreaking aspect in this cycle, perpetuated through generations. Children raised in criminal environments witness violence, instability, and betrayal. Lack of positive role models, disrupted education, and economic desperation pushes them towards criminal paths. Breaking this cycle requires community support, education, and compassion. As such, when we go home tonight, let us recognize that crime's impact extends far beyond statistics. It fractures families, scars women, and shapes the futures of our children. By addressing economic vulnerability, providing resources, and fostering empathy, we can rewrite the narrative, one of resilience and healing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kavita. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the brilliance on this stage this evening as the leader of the opposition continues to listen to your views on how we can return safety and security to our country. Ladies and gentlemen, we switch to another spectrum in Trinidad and Tobago. We switch to an educator. Mr. Robert Ramsahai has a Bachelor of Arts in English Language and Literature from the University of the West Indies. He has a Diploma of Education from the University of the West Indies. He has an Executive Diploma in Leadership and School Management from Arthur Locke Jack. He has a Bachelor of Laws. He served as the Vice Principal of Hillview College from 2008 to 2011. He served as the Principal of Presal Secondary School from 2011 to 2013. And he was the Acting Principal of the Upper Level Educational Institute. He was also my teacher and principal for many years. Let us welcome Mr. Robert Ramsahai.
Thank you very much, Morris, for that warm introduction. Honorable Madam Kamala Prasad Pisesa, I'm indeed honored to be invited to this. And our guest speakers, our Honorable Alan Chastanet and Ms. Kavita. All right, good. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for inviting me here, and try to keep within the time limit, okay. Violence in our schools. One of the simplest definitions offered by a Dutch criminologist Peter Sperenberg limits violence to the intentional encroachment upon a person's physical integrity. Intent here means there has to be a knowing intention to cause harm to another. That is why accidents which may be very violent are not considered. That is why we also discount the violation of a person by another who may be thinking he's acting for the benefit of that person, but who may unintentionally cause harm. Nevertheless, we can define it to include not only the use of physical force by a person or a group of persons or an institution against one another, but also as a psychological, social, and emotional dimension to encompass any coercive or exploitative relationship. Ha! That sounds pretty impressive, eh? Now that I have your attention, let's talk about violence in school. Allow me the opportunity to present a little picture of violence in our schools and to suggest a few possible solutions to this rising dilemma that is totally out of hand at this point in time. Check your social media, you will see every day something happening. I've been a teacher for over 40 years, and I've served as head of department, vice principal, acting principal in the best school in Trinidad and Tobago. 2 scholarship, 2 President's Medal in 1 year, Hillview College. I've also served as principal in the government secondary school in Central, and last year I also served as acting principal in one of the best private schools, secondary schools in Warners. So I have had experience in 3 different types of schools: the national schools, the government schools, and the private schools. And because the denominational schools are run by religious bodies, they have inculcated strict discipline in both students and the staff. And they retain a special kind of ethos. And they perform well because of it. And even this control today is being eroded by the ministries of education. However, let's look at the government schools. They have yet to build an ethos, with the exception of QRC and St. George's, and even these have fallen by the wayside recently. School violence includes violence on school property on the way to or from school and from school on school trips and events. Violence by fellow students is the most common and particularly vicious when different schools are involved. School violence can be real or implied threats. It can be verbal, sexual, physical, or perpetrated with or without weapons. If a person is deliberately harming another or acting in a way that leaves that other feeling threatened, that is school violence. There's no single reason why students should become violent. Yet, they exist. Some are just following behaviors they have seen at home, on the streets, in video games, movies, or television. Some do indeed have actual mental problems. Some have been bullied, and they feel isolated and rejected by their peers. And these are just only a few. One editorial says, the school system today is a style parading a substance. Let us look at the types of school violence today. 1, physical violence includes any kind of physical aggression, the use of weapons, as well as criminal acts like theft, arson, vandalism, and you name it. One physical threat is involved. We have psychological violence, which includes emotional and verbal abuse. These involve insulting, threatening, ignoring, isolating, rejecting, name-calling, humiliating, ridiculing, rumor-mongering, gossiping, lying, or punishing another person for no reason. Then there is sexual violence. Includes sexual harassment, sexual intimidation, unwanted touching, sexual coercion, and even rape. Bullying can take physical, psychological, or sexual forms and is characterized by repeated and intentional aggression towards another person. Now this one is most common. Taxing is the extorting of money by threatening violence, actual violence, or by blackmailing. Then there is cyberbullying, which is a new phenomenon. Includes sexual or psychological abuse by people connected through school, on social media, or other online platforms. This may involve posting false information, hurtful comments, malicious rumors, or embarrassing photos or videos online. And this is a culprit here. The COVID virus and its attendant closure of physical schooling have brought unprecedented behavioral problems among many students. Today, social media is rife with video clips of students fighting each other, both boys and girls, smashing of a maxi taxi recently, a school bus. And this weekend, I saw a video clip with smashed classroom furniture, upturned chairs, and I saw chairs stuck to the ceiling, defying gravity. I have never seen that in my life. 40 years I've been teaching, and this 10 years out of the system. And I have never seen that before, yet I have a video proof of it. So what causes school violence? There's no straightforward answer, There are always risk factors, and these would include poor academic performance, prior history of violence, hyperactive or impulsive personality, mental health problems, witnessing or being a victim of violence, alcohol, drug, or tobacco abuse, dysfunctional family dynamic, domestic violence or abuse, access to weapons, delinquent peers, their friends, bad company, and of course, poverty or high crime rates within the community, that is, where the gangs are seen as idols. So what can we do? Parents react to school violence in different kinds of ways. Some parents encourage their children to bully others. They say that you're strong, be strong and fight, stand up to them. Others try to teach their children how to act in a way that will not attract bullying or other violence. But that never works, and they may teach the child to blame himself for being bullied. Other parents are proactive, and they try to work within the school or challenge the school if necessary to try and keep their child safe. Some schools have programs that bring students together to share their experiences and to talk about solutions. This is engaged in by private schools because they can afford it. They charge you money and they can bring in experts. They are also streamline who they take in. I've had a situation in the private school where I had to expel 2 students because they wouldn't change. 3 strikes and you're out. You can't do that in the government school or national school. One program brings students to interact with teachers, psychologists, and the community police to talk and write and do things to create positive changes. If you think a program like this could be of benefit, talk to your principal, child school principal, and see what can be done. There's a great deal that you and I, all of us together, can do to help an angry child learn ways to successfully cope with anger. Now, look at some of the activities that you can participate in. Physical activities, sports. Some of you don't want to try to play sports and they'll get damaged, all right? They'll be harmed in the enemy. Let them get their feelings out, their anger out, expend their energy. Another one, hitting a punching bag. I remember the late Dr. Tapin mentioned that to me. He said he had a punching bag in the gym there, and he said invite these students to go and cuff it so that they'll get rid of their pain and get rid of their anger. Then they could take time out. Tell them, say, look, come, at the private school that I was a principal of, there was a child who was having a problem and crying and whatnot because they were teasing her and so on. I said, come, sit in my office, wash your face, sit down there, relax, and when you're ready, just go back. She did that 2 or 3 times, and afterwards, she's back. It's normal. These are things that we all can do. Getting into music. At Hillview College, there was a group of Form 3 boys. They were actively destroying desks and doing this and I know they were musicians. So I had there were some musical instruments, guitars and so on that were not being used. I had them very strong. The boys themselves did it. And they started within 1 week. They had a nice little group. They played for graduation the next week. They were so wonderful, and it streamlined them. This is what I advise you. And then what you can do is to, as parents, identify triggers to anger. The better your child can make the connection between what leads to angry outbursts, the more control he will have in expressing his emotion. Parents, speak to your children, don't shout at them in anger or frustration. It only gets them angrier. And there's another way to creatively express angry feelings through art, through craft, through dancing, through any kind of physical expression, so that the Student Support Division of the Ministry of Education is embarking on that now. They are also bringing in what is called cultural transformation. The only problem with that is they bring in long after the cows have escaped the barn. So it will take some time for it to kick in. There are expressive therapies which help teens express anger management, conflict resolutions, groups, and these will provide an opportunity for teens to learn from each other. Individual provides a safe place to explore this difficult emotion. Keep in mind that uncontrolled anger is sometimes associated with mental health disorders in teens. So make sure to get professional help for your teen if their anger continues to be a problem. Truthfully, the ministry is embarking on this massive program to treat with violence in the school through the National Code of Conduct, the implementation of the student support services, counselors, social workers, community police, no violence day, and zero tolerance. But as I said, it's a bit late. We should have started that long before. I also remember right here in